do this study or this operation?
We began I'm making a distinction between the program audit and the investigation, is that we began this program audit at the request of Chairwoman Velasquez.
Okay. And to your knowledge, is this the first time this type of audit has been done of the Hubzone program?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by this type of audit, because as I responded to Mr. Shabbat, is that the IG has done, some work evaluating the Hubzone program. We have further back in kind of the beginning years of the program, before my time doing small business work, there were some evaluations of the Hubzone program. So I think that there have been evaluations. It's just a question of, what we did is more recent, and we looked at a different set of questions than what some of the other evaluations did.
Do you think that these methods of defrauding our government and our people, are they anything new, using a different storefront, doing it online? Are these all just brand new things that you all in your experience have never seen before, the IG may have seen, or is this, that's not a rocket science way to do it, or this new technology of being a criminal, I don't think.
No, there's not a whole lot of sophistication necessary to beat this program at this point. It just isn't really significant.
And so, Ms. Carranza, in your experience, and I know you came from UPS.
Yes.
And thank you. I know that company's a wonderful company, but I also know they build in, they pay so much attention to detail. I was visiting a hub not too long ago, and they even talk about they don't take left turns to build efficiencies and check their system so that reduce accidents and to cut down on time. So I know their security system is also very sophisticated. Was there a time in and I know you're 10 years short as the director, was there a time when you brought these or anyone brought concerns to the previous director? And I go back to this, it seems like the heads of agencies change about every 8 or 9 months, and then there's always that, I've only been here this long, and I'm not accusing you of that because I respect what you did, and I think we can always borrow from the private agency. But there are times when you brought these concerns to your predecessor and they fell on deaf ears, or that, and I saw the testimony of Chairman Velasquez about the previous answers, that you felt were frustrated because you didn't get cooperation on these things.
I'd like to address that question about my previous experience of attention to detail, and you can appreciate why I was so frustrated to learn from Mr. Scheer and others that the attention to detail, the management of not only data but procedures, was not adhered to in the Hubzone program office. We spoke adamantly, I believe, Mr. Scheer, about how could this actually occur with very senior management in play and a very highly automated systems where you can capture a lot of data. What I believe has occurred is that we have a combination of factors that cause this problem. One, the management became totally reliant on technology to perform their tasks. The validation of information, since it's a self-certifying, they took the applicant's full face value and based on a couple of documents to validate certain information was sufficient to get into the program. Thirdly, the site visits were desktop visits in the district offices. That's not sufficient to capture what we've just seen on screen, which is you do an on-site, you verify. I cannot sit here and tell you that none of those have occurred, because I just met with the region administrators this week, just yesterday, along with the district directors. It's an advisory field group that we have, and I challenged them on the procedure or process that they manage on these site visits, and learned very quickly that they did desktops, but when they had an inclination that they should, or a flag that they should pursue an on-site, they would perform that, and I asked what resulted as your interaction, and they indicated typically it resulted in decertification.
Madam Chair, could I get 30 seconds more? Would that be possible?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Scheer, Mr. Coots, from what you heard of Ms. Carranza's original 5-minute testimony, I know you had, will the plan that she intends to implement solve some of these things? And let me go on, and then Mr. Coots, would you explain your background before you went to GAO, and would it then not be prudent for us to possibly SBA to hire people that maybe are of an investigative background, maybe a little more suspicious-minded? Not that we don't trust people, but that could look into these things on a full-time basis as opposed to when a committee has to call for an investigation. So will what she says work, and why do we have to wait so long for these things to get investigated?
Well, it's too early to tell whether it's going to work, and I don't want to minimize the problem. I mean, this problem's developed over potentially a long period of time, and so you have, again, the issue of preventing new people from getting in the program that shouldn't be, and how do you clean up the mess you've got with maybe hundreds or thousands in there now that shouldn't be, who are taking business away from legitimate Hubzone companies. My background is everybody in my unit is a certified fraud examiner. I'm a certified public accountant. We have criminal investigators with 20, 30, 40 years of law enforcement experience from around the executive branch. We have tremendous data analysis and technology tools available, and we use many, many processes, including covert testing, which we do for many congressional committees, which gives you an inside look at what's really happening with a program like the Hubzone program, because how else can you get that unless you actually go out and try to commit the fraud yourself? And so, again, the first question would be, do they have the right people to put an effective fraud prevention program in place? That's doubtful at this point. I mean, that requires people with certain types of skill sets. And so, again, could they do better than they can with the people they've got? Probably. Do they need different types of people, possibly in additional training? I expect so.
Time is expired.